So we're going to go ahead and even out our beautiful model's skin tone. As you can see on the forehead, it's got a bit of reddy brown tones, and the mouth area is a bit deep, and then everywhere else has got this bright golden tone. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a reddish, deeper undertone brown along the hairline, just to match that area of the face. I do like to keep the hairline a little bit deeper in any case. I'm going to go ahead and now apply the shade Macao in the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation from Nars. And I'm using a dense brush to do that. So over the forehead, the cheek area also, because that's what her predominant shade is across her complexion. Now I'm using this style brush just because I find that it allows me to build up the coverage a lot quicker without me using as much product and losing as much product in the brush. I find that having that flat, dense brush just really helps keep the makeup, the foundation, on top of the surface of the brush and straight onto the skin. So you're going to lose a lot less product, which means you get to keep more of your products in your kit. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just building up on the cheek area. And don't worry too much about the blending at this stage. What matters most is that you apply it everywhere you need to. The blending is going to follow after this. So I'm just going to make sure that everywhere that matches this more golden base is getting covered with this foundation. So cheek, nose, and technically the chin would match this area as well, but as you can see, it's a bit deeper, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to get that chin area to match as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is correct the mouth area. I find that when you put the foundation straight over the mouth area, which tends to be a lot darker for women of colour, it gives you that sort of grey undertone. There's like a muddy kind of cast in that area. Or you tend to find that to get rid of that muddy appearance, you have to put a lot more foundation on. And I don't really like the makeup, you know, the skin to look too cakey. If I can help it, I really would like to go with the least amount of foundation I can go on someone. So what I'm doing is I'm using a pure orange toned corrector from LA Girl Pro. I believe it is called Pure Orange. And I'm going to apply that around the mouth. What that's going to do is it's going to lift the deep brown tones and give it a bit more vibrant kind of undertone in that area, so that when I do go to apply the foundation over the top, it doesn't have that muddy grey sort of cast to the skin. So you can apply this with a brush, you can apply it with a sponge, you can apply it with a finger. I'm doing it with the finger first just so I can get a really accurate placement, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend. Don't worry if it looks strange at first when you put it on, because obviously it feels really weird seeing orange against your skin, but it does serve a purpose of getting that even tone. So right now what I'm doing is I'm using the foundation in a lighter color just to add dimension. And dimension in this sense is to bring out the high planes of the face. So I'm using, I wish I could remember the name of the foundation, I really don't, but the essence is just to use something of the same texture and formula. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using a foundation in a lighter color in the parts of the face that I want to bring out. So I'm doing the opposite of contouring right here. And this is before I use a highlighter concealer. I just find that doing it in these stages makes for a more blended look. So it's very important that I really cover those areas well. That's why I didn't put the first foundation underneath the eyes, because I knew I was going to go ahead and do this. So I'm doing that right in the center of the forehead as well. So you can see from the hairline to the, you know, just above the nose bridge, you've got about, what, 3 colors there. So it's a really natural gradient. There's no harsh lines of light and dark. It all really smoothly fades into each other. So now that we've corrected around the mouth area, at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and apply the foundation that I've applied to the more golden parts of the complexion over the mouth area. So the exact same technique, pressing it into the skin to get that even tone. And now it's time to blend, blend, blend. I love to use a sponge just to press the product into each other and into the skin. I find that what it does is it gets rid of excess shine. Even though I love a glow, I just find there's a glow that can be a bit on the greasy side if you don't take care. So I'm using an Alcone wedge sponge right now, and I love it because it's firm enough and it's wide enough. I don't feel like I'm working over teeny tiny areas of the skin using a sponge. And it's disposable, so in terms of hygiene, it's amazing for your kit if you're a professional makeup artist. Even before Corona, I was quite keen on having disposable sponges as opposed to ones that are reusable, just because you can never be too sure that all of the product has been rinsed out. So before having put on the foundation shade that this lovely model was, I actually put a deeper reddish shade along the hairline, and that's what I'm blending into the foundation shade right now. So you can see that's a gradient of that red right at the top, that more neutral brown, and then of course that yellowish brown that is in the center of the face. So this is the complexion, barely the base. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding more of a lifted shade underneath the eye area. Here is where I really start to give the skin a highlight. And here I'm using the concealer. I believe here I mixed the shade Walnut and Caramel in the Radiant Creamy Concealer from Nars together. And you can see that's really lifting the under eye area. I'm not too keen on a really, really bright under eye. I like it to be visible, something that's going to wake up the under eye, but I do like it to be a little bit close to the foundation shade, just so it's got more of a natural dimension to the skin. So I'm applying that first with a brush and then going over with the sponge, same sponge that I use for the complexion, just using a different side of the wedge. And blending it into each other. Again, I don't want any harsh lines of demarcation where the light starts and where the dark stops. I really want everything to blend together seamlessly. And if you're someone who likes the whole highlight contour look, but just don't like how harsh everything is in terms of the final product, then just take a little bit more time to blend. It doesn't mean that you have to skip out the highlight and contour stage of the makeup, but it just means that maybe you want to add a little bit more time to your blending. And it's time to set the skin. What I'm using right now is the Mineralize Skin Finish, my favorite setting powder for, the overall skin from MAC. And I'm actually just using one side of the brush. So I'm kind of flattening my powder brush to press the product on. Now, this is a very key aspect of my dewy skin technique. I actually place my powder highlighters on top of wet skin. So that area that I'm applying that highlighter right now, I think that's a MAC Mineralize highlighter. I'm actually applying it over a section of skin that hasn't been powdered yet. So if you can see on the cheek, just as she turned around, it really caught the light. And that's because there's no powder over the area. I really do prefer wet look skin as opposed to glittery skin. So if I like to go for a highlighter, I don't omit that at all, but I like to apply it a different way. So leave the area that you want to put your highlighter on bare of any powder and place the highlighter as your powder over the cheekbone. You'll find that it gives you that really lit from within kind of finish as opposed to, a glittery, shimmery texture that is sitting on top of powdered skin. It's a bit hard for me to explain, but I feel like if you try it, you'll see the difference for sure. So after I've done that, I go ahead and apply my under eye setting powder, which is the Laura Mercier original shade. I'm applying that underneath using the same powder that I used to apply the setting powder overall the area of the face. So I just like to press that underneath the eye very lightly. I press it underneath the eye to set the concealer, and then I loosely apply the loose powder to act as you can see now, it's a bit more fall away. I do that just so that when I do my eyeshadow and there's any fallout, I can just swipe it away without kind of disrupting the base that I've created. And now what I'm doing is I'm using a Mineralize Skin Finish powder in the shade Dark Deepest, which is considerably darker than her tone, but neutral. And I'm using that to add dimension to the skin. This is a contour. This is my idea of a contour anyway. It's not harsh. It's not, really deeply structured, but you can see it contrasts the brighter areas of her face and gives it that more, snatched, sunken in cheekbone look. So I popped that all over the hairline where the more ready toned foundation was, and I put it underneath the cheekbone. As you can see, as that starts to contrast the highlighter, it really gives some beautiful dimension. If you're into a nose contour, go ahead and lightly apply that, dust it into the inner section of the eye, and you're ready to go ahead and start your eye makeup. Feel free to pop on a little bit more powder underneath the eye to combat fallout if you want to.